Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us on the program this 30th day of December 2013. We begin in South Africa, where heavy rains have claimed the lives of 2 people, including a 6-year-old child in Ulundi, north of KwaZulu-Natal province. Another child is in critical condition in hospital after a house collapsed on her. The rains caused damage to homes and infrastructure.
Morning, 6-year-old May Mhlongo was outside this house when the walls collapsed on her. She died instantly. Her family is devastated. To make matters worse, they now have to share this dilapidated rendezvous and a tent with 14 people.
We are completely lost. We do not know what we're going to do. We have nothing and cannot even afford to bury our child.
11 grieving children. Their father, Begani Mjali, was on his way home when his car was swept away by heavy current while crossing this small river. His body was found by rescue workers along the riverbank. The heavy rains destroyed many homes in this area. Infrastructure, including roads and bridges, also suffered. The district municipality says natural disasters are digging into its budget. In the last 2 days alone, R500,000 rand has been spent on disaster management.
Zululand District Municipality is always hard hit by the disasters, always during this time. That is why always when we close for festive season, we always ensure that our staff members remain behind so that they are always be there when they are called to go and assist during this disastrous time.
The municipality is assisting the families with food and other essentials. The SA Weather Service predicts more heavy rains for areas in and around Zululand. Disaster officials remain on high alert.
Still in South Africa, the city of Cape Town and disaster management personnel have been working non-stop to help residents of Axtelan informal settlement in Valhalla Park to build new homes. 1,500 people were left homeless when 350 shacks were gutted by fire.
Finally delivered. After 5 days of sleeping in the open, residents can't wait to rebuild. There was a strong police presence to maintain law and order.
The majority of them want shelter. The City of Cape Town has got a constitutional mandate to provide services to the people, and we will exercise our right to assist those people that want to be helped.
The community was split when a group of protesters demanded brick and mortar houses. As the building material was offloading this morning, confusion started brewing, but many just want to start over as soon as possible.
They must stand together and help each other for those people here.
I'm very happy for what the City Council have planned it for us, and I just wanted to say I'm very thankful for what happened to us that the City of Council came in.
The housing structure resembles a Wendy house, made up of the enhanced fire kit, which includes 25 sheets of corrugated iron, wood, nails, a door and a window. For these people, it's a good start. The aged, physically disabled and the sick will be the first to be accommodated. The city says everyone should be housed within 5 days.
Let's now take you to Ghana, where we talk environment. The natural world already has a lot to cope with. Deforestation, overfishing and poaching or take their toll. Added to this mix are the impacts of climate change, such as changing rainfall patterns and raising sea levels, and efforts to help people adapt to the changes and the effects of climate change. An awareness creation meeting has taken place in Cape Coast.
Forests are vital. They soak up carbon dioxide, the main greenhouse gases responsible for global warming, and help regulate the world's climate. Climate change is having serious and unpredictable effects on the world's water systems through more flooding and droughts. Endangered animal species are also at risk of extinction. To create the needed awareness about the phenomenon, the Cape Coast Metropolitan Assembly is participating in the 50 Municipal Climate Partnership Project. This is within the framework of the Born Cape Coast Sister City Partnership. At the conference, A professor at the Department of Geography and Regional Planning at UCC, Peter Kobne-Champong, explained further about the effects of climate change.
It is a real problem. It is bringing migration of people. Look at the number of people from Mali who are in Ghana. Look at what they are doing in their farm plains. They are destroying people's farms with their cows. And if you say anything, they shoot you. All these the result of climate change.
The MCE for Cape Coast, Madame Priscilla Ahin, told GTV what is being done to save the Fosu Lagoon, for instance.
We've contracted some people to remove some weeds that covers the lagoon. After that, we're going to dredge the lagoon.
We stay in Ghana and we are still looking at issues related to climate change. Farmers in the northern region have been introduced to a new project which aims to improve their capacity and resilience to climate change on agriculture. The project seeks to improve food security and livelihood, as well as increase farmers' access to information on climate change.
A UNDP report on human development suggests that 70% of the entire population in the Upper East region are poor as compared to other areas of the country. This is as a result of limited resources, poorly developed informal sector, high unemployment rates, as well as climate change and environmental degradation, among other challenges. It is for this and other reasons that the Climate Change Adaptation in Northern Ghana Enhanced Project was introduced as an antidote to some of these developmental challenges. The ultimate goal of the new project is geared to enhancing economic opportunities among the rural poor, particularly smallholder farmers, and helping farmers tackle the numerous challenges posed by climate change and environmental degradation. The Executive Director of Trade Aid Integrated, Nicholas Apokre, said farmers under the project have been supported with improved silos for the storage of their farm harvest, whilst an appreciable number of them have been trained. Others have been supported with animal traction to purchase bullocks and ploughs for early preparation of their farmlands. Additionally, 20 new basket weavers have been formed and linked to the fair trade market internationally. Meanwhile, a field trip to some project sites was made to assess the impact of the project activities. At Sumbrugu Yebongo, the media was exposed to a 7-acre land of the vetiver grasses mostly found in Kumasi. Also at Bui, the team inspected a large tract of farmland cultivated with rice, millet and granite by 24 farmer groups. The performance of the crops was as a result of the best practices provided to the farmers.
Away from Ghana, we take you to Togo, where government statistics show that malaria cases accounted for 44% of hospitalizations in the country in previous years, and the rate is even higher in children. 6 out of every 10 children occupying hospital beds in Togo suffer from malaria.
According to the World Health Organization, malaria kills an African child every 30 seconds. Government statistics show that malaria cases accounted for 44% of hospitalization in Togo in previous years, and the rate is even higher among children. 6 out of every 10 children occupying hospital beds in Togo suffer from malaria.
Reste une maladie très fréquente au Togo.
Malaria remains a very common disease in Togo. If we consider that 123 per 1,000, that is 12,100 children die in Togo before reaching the 5th birthday, and the 12th, we say that 2 children will die of malaria.
In 2004, Togo adopted a regional strategy for malaria control that made use of insecticide-treated nets. However, by 2010, the impact of the implementation of these new malaria control methods had not yet been felt. The Togolese government has now started implementing new strategies, It is currently on a mission to distribute free nets to its citizens across the country.
This is a good initiative, giving away these free nets. It will allow us to fight against malaria.
We are happy to receive the nets. Plus, we were given advice on how to use these nets. One should not wash them regularly so that the insecticide remains for long. I do that now. I sleep under a mosquito net. It saves us from malaria.
Through its latest initiative, the government is now aiming to increase the use of mosquito nets, especially for pregnant women, and improving treatment by promoting the use of newer and more effective drugs.
Now, hundreds of people are fleeing from the Central African Republic to Chad as French and African peacekeepers fail to stop the violence. Other people have sought safety at the international airport where French peacekeepers have a base.
Despite the presence of 1,600 French peacekeepers and nearly 4,000 African Union troops, a recent surge in violence is forcing many to flee their homes. The anti-Balaka Christian militia have targeted Muslims they say aided Seleka rebel fighters. And with many Seleka coming from Chad, its citizens have also become targets. This prompted the government to charter flights to take them home. But for many of those about to board, it's the Central African Republic that they call home, not Chad.
We can't cope with this. That's why we want to flee the country and go to Chad, even though we haven't been there since we were born. We are Central Africans, but we have to leave now.
I am Central African, but because there's so much tension here, I've decided to leave to find some peace in Jemena. Afterwards, we will come back, because we have no other homeland. Our ancestors came here in 1821.
In the first 5 days, 2,743 people were flown to safety in the Chadian capital. That's according to the International Organization for Migration. But that's just a fraction of the hundreds of thousands of Chadians thought to live in the CAR. Cameroon also flew home 214 of its citizens on Friday, bringing the number evacuated this month to 926. Senegal and Niger have asked the OIM for urgent help in extracting hundreds of their own. Just over 800,000 people have fled their homes since the latest violence began in December. About half of these seeking refuge in makeshift camps in the capital and at the airport near a French military base. The United Nations appealed on Friday for $152 million to help meet emergency humanitarian needs.
Let's now move up north precisely to Egypt, where there was an escalation of violence on the first day of exams at Al-Azhar University. Students are sympathetic to the Muslim Brotherhood made good their threats to disrupt the midterm examinations.
An escalation of violence on the first day of exams at Al-Azhar University. Students sympathetic to the Muslim Brotherhood made good their threat to disrupt the midterm examinations. They stopped students from entering classes and then torched 2 buildings on campus. The administration had to cancel exams in several faculties, while 60 students were arrested for damaging public property.
We came to attend exams. The Brotherhood students made a cordon around the building so we don't go in. We left when they started torching the offices and classes. Police intervened and we're waiting to know what will happen.
On Friday, 5 people were killed in several cities as Brotherhood supporters took to the streets in defiance of the government's move to branding the group a terrorist organization. The Brotherhood, meanwhile, issued a statement on its official website asserting its commitment for peaceful protests.
The group wants to create insecurity in the streets and everywhere else, so that Egyptians would delay or be afraid to participate in the referendum and elections, thus showing that the leadership has failed in its transition to democracy.
Egypt was hit with similar waves of violence and terrorist attacks by Islamists in the 1960s and 90s, which the governments at the time managed to contain. But is it different this time?
Not really. The Brotherhood repeats the same mistakes every time. They create a good rapport with the people through charities and Islamic preaching. Then they crave for power. But when they fail, they resort to violence, lose popularity, get disbanded and go underground. I believe the group needs new blood in its leadership.
Till then, history, it seems, does repeat itself with the Muslim Brotherhood.
In other news, humanitarian workers are worried that the spread of infectious diseases could add to the death toll in South Sudan, where fighting has killed about 1,000 people in less than 2 weeks. More than 100,000 people have been displaced since the violence broke out on December 13. The political fight that started in the capital, Juba, has quickly spread to the rest of the world's newest country and appears to be turning into an ethnic conflict.
Most people taking refuge at this United Nations camp in Juba are ethnic Nuers, like former Vice President Riek Machar. The Nuers say they are being targeted by Dinkas, the ethnic group of President Salva Kiir.
Everywhere there's fight. In the whole country, not even in the capital city of Juba. Even outside those provinces, the fight continues till now. And the government has nothing to do with to stop war.
Christine Biman-Shah, a doctor from the Paris-based group Doctors Without Borders, warns that poor conditions in the camp could lead to the spread of diseases.
We are worried as usual in this condition. The cholera is the first thing, and we are lucky because we are in the city, but we can help all the other transmissible disease. We can have a measles outbreak, we can have meningitis.
Oil-rich South Sudan gained independence from Sudan in July of 2011. A long-time rivalry between President Kiir and the former vice president erupted in violence 2 weeks ago. Mass killings and other violence since then have caused tens of thousands of people to seek shelter under protection of international forces in Juba and some other cities. The United Nations and regional leaders are urging sides to stop hostilities. The U.S. envoy to Sudan and South Sudan, Donald Booth, held talks Friday with President Kiir.
We had a very constructive discussion. He briefed us on the discussions he had yesterday with the Ethiopian Prime Minister and the President of Kenya, and indeed confirmed that he is moving forward to arrange a cessation of hostilities throughout the country, in conjunction with increasing the ability to move humanitarian relief to the people of South Sudan who have been trapped by the fighting.
President Kiir has blamed Machar for inciting the widespread fighting in South Sudan by orchestrating a failed coup. Machar's forces have taken control of the key oil-producing state of Unity, but he denies attempting a coup. Ethnic Nuers say the fighting was sparked by an attempt by the Dinkas to disarm them. East African leaders met Friday in Kenya to work out a truce, but the rebel leader was not invited. Analysts say the decision not to invite him could hamper efforts for peace.
We continue to look at conflict on the continent, and now fighting between Democratic Republic of Congo government forces FARDC and the rebels of ADF continued Sunday morning for the third day. Intelligence sources say Sunday's fighting was started by FARDC forces in an attempt to further push the enemy out of their territory. Meanwhile, the latest information indicates that more people could have been killed in Wednesday's attack, with the number set to be at 57.
The fighting is reported to have started early this morning, a few kilometers from the border town of Kamango.
In the morning when I was on the bridge, the chiefs were mobilizing them to go back. But for your information, the fight is going on ahead of Kamango. The fight is going on ahead of Kamango. Yeah, around there. And bomb blasts are being had, especially for those who are on elevated areas. Here for us, we are in depression.
The Congolese army is said to have launched the offensive in an attempt to flush out the ADF rebels from the fringes of the town. Fresh fighting has also led to an increase in the numbers of refugees fleeing into Uganda through the Busunga border post in Ibundibujo district.
Now feeding 1,501 individuals, but apart from those we are receiving right now, that will be an accumulative record. We keep on adding.
Reports which are also emerging indicate that the number of civilians killed since the fighting began could be higher than the figures reported earlier. Some of the Congolese who declined to appear on camera because of fear of reprisals say about 40 people were buried today after the fighting. These are some of the survivors with gunshot wounds receiving treatment from Bundibujo Hospital.
ADF nalu ekabudukira Kamango yasambulya abajesi bate nankana Kamango nubo natutoka kuyaga masasi tuliani bugundia ntobo byatudumbi ntukoma kise enje yasi kuleketa nembele kusa kuleketa abajesi
kise baekera basa bate kutwebisirira dumbi nubutu aguya masasi ngawanja kolera kimwe abali batoike beserikali babulemba barasamba kwiro nanje mwana wanje abarabiye naemba murasana kwiro.
More than 20,000 Ugandan children were abducted by the rebel Lord's Resistance Army LRA and forced into becoming fighters or sex slaves today, years after the LRA was chased out of Uganda. Many families are trying to come to terms with the fact that their loved ones may never return.
This pair of boots is all that remains of Adonga Sunday. His father Christopher says he'll never forget the day when his son was abducted by rebels from the Lord's Resistance Army in 1997, when he was just 12 years old. The rebels were notorious for abducting children and mutilating people. Christopher's trying to accept what's probably true.
If my child is alive, should come back. If you are coming back, I will be very grateful. But now, I don't think. Yeah.
Christopher's wife was so upset at the loss of their only child that she killed herself. Now he lives alone with only his chickens for company. He says he's waiting for God to take him away. He's one of thousands in northern Uganda whose children went missing during the Civil War. But Christopher says things got easier when he joined a counselling group for people with missing relatives organised by the Red Cross. Here, several groups have come together to hold a memorial ceremony. They take turns to say the names of those who never came home. The memories are painful.
This ambiguity of not knowing what happened with a person that is in your family, normally a son or a daughter, it's something that for those who don't live it, it's very difficult to understand. And now they have somebody that understands them, and they went through the same, and together they can find way forward.
Most of these people never buried or even saw the bodies of their loved ones, something that's important in the culture here. They didn't have any kind of closure until now. And while the counselling or the ceremony won't bring anyone back, it can start to ease some of the grief.
It is on that note that we come to the end of today's edition of Inside Africa. Thanks for watching, and please stay tuned for more news on Africa Media.